Hey y'all, this is Grizz here at Windmill Farms, North Mississippi. Good morning. Coming to you this morning with a gun problem again. A gentleman brought me a gun pistol that he had a problem with. This is a Millennium G2 made by Taurus. The actual nomenclature I think is a PT111 G2 is what the actual nomenclature is. But to show you, it's empty. Now, he brought it to me because he was on the firing range shooting, and if you know anything about a gun, once you cock it and let the slide go forward, you should hear can't hear it. It's not actually dropping the firing pin. If you look real closely at this gap right here, you'll see the hammer block. It's called the trigger block is what it's actually called. You'll see it moving in there. It's moving back. It's trying to engage. But when you pull the trigger, it's completely without any resistance. It's not like it's touching something and it's not letting the firing pin come forward. It's a dead trigger. There's nothing there at all, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to show y'all, because if you know about this gun, you know that you're going to pull it back, take the magazine out, let it come. Well, I touched the slide release. That was my problem. Push down on either side. This is how you disassemble this one. Very similar to a Glock. Push down, let it go forward, and then pull the trigger, and normally it will cock forward, and at that point you can pull the slide off. But because that trigger's not moving the actual sear block and the actual firing pin out of the way, this won't allow it to come off. So what I'll show you today is how we can actually get this to where you can get it disassembled. Now, with that being said, I'm just showing you in case you have someone who has another one as a backup. Taurus has had a slight problem with these things doing this, and we'll show it if I can get the camera to get down in there. What it is actually, I've already taken this gun apart. I know what's wrong. We're going to be sending it back for him. To Taurus. We've already talked to them. They said send the gun back to them and they will take care of it. What it is the trigger block has broke. Okay, looks like to me when I got in there that it was a engineering flaw, because there's a V cut in it, and anytime you take metal out of something that's making contact every single time, you run the risk of either creating fissures, stress fractures, other things. And to me it looked like they didn't drill the very center of that V out. And what happens is when you've got a V, and down here at the bottom of this V, if you do not drill that out, from my blacksmithing experience, my metalsmithing experience, is when you just cut it out or you press it out, right there at that joint of the bottom down there, there's always going to be some type of a stress fracture in that area. Always. And over time, it just opens up. And that's what happened on this particular model here, this particular gun, okay? Like I said, I've already had this apart, but I'm showing y'all how you can get into the gun and see, is it the trigger block, is it a spring? What your problem might have been on your particular weapon, why it's not firing and it has a dead trigger. So now that I have it pulled back in the back, I'm going to turn that gun upside down for you. And I'm going to see if I can use this little pipe cleaner right here to show you. Y'all see that right there? Okay, that's the back of the firing pin. We're going to take the actual back off of this slide, okay? But the way that you get it off is, you see that little red sleeve in there? I don't know if the camera will actually... Let me see if I can make it try to pull up in there. All right. That red sleeve right there needs to be pushed down toward the gun in order to release it off the back here so that we can slide this down, okay? Now, what I normally do is just set the gun down like so. I get something that I can hold with another hand, and I push that down. And hold it like such, okay? Now, I don't have a fingernail, so what I have to do is I actually have to get something in there to help me pry that bottom open, okay? So, y'all don't laugh at me. Pull that back off. Now, here's the kicker. You notice I ain't released pressure. Now, I put my finger in there, taking this out so I can hold it. The reason you want to hold it is see when I let it go? See how far it came up? I don't know if y'all can see that or not. I'm trying to make the camera work on us here, y'all. See how far up that came? You don't want that popping loose and losing it. But at that point in time, all you do is reach in. And that, my friends, is your firing pin. Okay? This was that red sleeve I was saying that needed to be pushed out of the way. And as you see, the spring itself is good. The firing pin is good. When I looked over it real good, I saw no fissures, no cracks, no problems with it whatsoever. The spring itself still works very well. Now, when I open that up, you'll notice another spring in there. You could take this whole assembly apart and clean this if you want to. Biggest thing about this is right at this point in time, what we're looking at is something different. This one's working like it's supposed to. So we're good to go. We let that come forward. All right. And then straight off, just like it's supposed to. All I was doing out of camera, if you couldn't see, was I was just simply pulling these brackets down on both sides like you're supposed to pull this gun apart. And because that firing pin was no longer in the way right here, that allowed my slide to come off over the top of this, okay, across the top of the cinder block back here, okay? Now, when I got in here, I looked at everything. Everything looked good. Guess I should have cleaned it while I was in here, but since we're sending it back to Taurus, I'm not really worried about cleaning it. But what happened was, I don't know if I'll be able to show it or not. Alright, when you pull the trigger, you notice this right here is part of your trigger block, okay? And if you look back here at the back, you see it where it's moving back here. That's what rotates back and makes contact back here with firing pin. It's all got to do over here and everything else. Well, when I pulled this cinder block out of the way, and I bet you we're not going to be able to see it. We're not going to be able to. But anyway, back here on this piece that's actually traveling, can you see that piece that's traveling right there? Down on the bottom side is where that V's cut, okay? And this side of that V is what's making contact every time, okay? What happens is it broke off. It is completely sheared off in there. I looked at it. You can tell that it is a stress fracture. It had been in there for a while. I'm not saying it came from the factory that way, but after talking to Taurus and after talking to some other gunsmiths, apparently this is something that's happening kind of on a regular basis. Sorry, my throat was getting a little dry there, people. Apparently it's gotten to be such a problem that Taurus is not even returning the guns. They're not fixing them, return them. They're sending a new gun out in replacement. It's supposed to be another G2, but it's a different variation. Like with your Smith & Wessons, if you watch my video with the Smith & Wessons, you know that you have series, you know, Smith & Wesson model 66, 66, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Apparently that's what they're doing here. They're not sending you your gun back. They're sending you another gun because this is apparently a problem. But what this does allow is if there was something else that was a problem in here, if something in the cinder block broke, if something broke in your firing pin, oops, there I go, throwing it around. Something broke in your firing pin. If something broke somewhere else, you could find it, fix it, and get it taken care of. Now that you know where to look, like I said, it's on this movable part, and it's on the bottom side. If you look at it, it's a V up in there like this. Well, it's a tight V, and each side comes out flat on either side. This side over here just sheared off, and when that's gone, it can't make contact. All right. So anyway, that was just a little quick tutorial that if you had a dead trigger Taurus, how to get into it by pulling off the back plate, pulling the firing pin out, allowing the slide to come all the way off, which will allow you to look inside the gun and see, is it a shear pin? Is that the problem here? Or is there something else? Whether it's back here in the sear block, firing pin, somewhere else. Just know that you cannot call Taurus. They will not give you a trigger block. Even though I'm not a gunsmith, I try to get a gunsmith friend of mine to get a hold of them, because sometimes parts are only allowed to gunsmith. He couldn't even get it for me. He told me that they told him to box it up, send it back to them, and they'd send him a new gun. So we're going to see if that happens. All right, so y'all stay tuned. If when we get this back, I'll let you know. Or my buddy gets it back, I'll let you know. But anyway, if you're ever at the firing range, you have a dead trigger, now you know how to at least get it off and to try to see what is the actual problem there and why you're having a problem not firing and why the trigger. So you know how to get that off. Now, to put it back on, all you simply do is drop your firing pin back in like before. I always have a hard time pushing this thing down and holding it down. All I did was actually just pull that back down and reinserted that back on there. Okay. Now once that's in there, put it back on your rails. Put it back on your rails. Slide all the way to the back. Lock open. Let go. Now you're good to go. And once again, still no trigger. But like I said, we're going to be sending this one back. I think it's a well-made gun. I think that was just the one part of the gun that was not well-made or well thought out, or maybe the original engineering was good on it, and maybe when during production something went awry. I don't know. The rest of the gun's very solid, very secure. Gone through this thing, gone through several others, very good. So, but anyway, y'all, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was informative on a dead trigger for a Taurus. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you have any comments, please let me know in below. I will get to them as fast as I possibly can. Like I said, I think it's a well-made gun. I think that one particular part was just a bad, or at least this one in here was bad, and it must have been bad enough because it's been discussed multiple times. But this will at least allow you to get in to your firearm to check it out, okay? So y'all, if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up. Like I said, comment. I will read. I read and I try to get back to the comments as quickly as I possibly can. Y'all excuse me, but sometimes I'm in the garden, sometimes I'm working on other projects, working in the leather room, so I don't necessarily get to them the second you post them, but I do get to them normally within one day. So y'all, if you know anybody else that has would need to know this information, please share it with them. I say that because when it comes to a firearm and it comes to your safety and you're pulling this to be your main protection, know what could go wrong. And this isn't just this, it's any firearm. I'm talking about any firearm can fail at any given time in this day and age. In this day and age, most firearms don't fail on a regular basis just because the R&D is good on them and the testing is even better, okay? Because they've realized that us consumers talk to one another just like this right here, and we do so that everybody knows. And so in this day and age, it's getting better and better on all these firearms. But y'all, that's how you get in there and disassemble the top slide on this thing so you can get in and see if that is the problem or not on your Taurus Millennium G2. Like I said, y'all have a blessed day. I know I have already. Good Lord, give me another one. I'm drinking my coffee this morning. But y'all, be safe.